to watch bad movies with great comedians. I'm Chris Scott. Your regular host, Billy Kirkwood, is dead, busy, and that's why he's not here to discuss technically a movie, Superman 3, but the rest of the gang is here. We've got the man with the most beautiful mustache I've ever seen, Chris Thorburn.
Hey.
Sorry, I shouldn't have clapped.
That's
it's weird
please.
if one person only claps. So
You've heard her voice. Every problem's a nail. That's why we brought ourselves a hammer. It's Kate Hammer, everyone.
One person.
Only one person at a time should clap.
I feel as though what we're doing is failing at zoo radio at the moment. You know, kind of like we should have more people, but it just sounds like we're trying to do something like TFI Friday, but it's just one guy in the crowd going
TFI Monday morning. You've heard his voice. A man, if you've watched or listened to any previous episodes, know that he loves a tangent the way that priests love religion. It's slick Rick Molland. Say hello, Rick. Come on.
hello.
Wow. The professionalism, the smoothness. That's just Chris Thorburn's chin. Okay, guys, we're talking about Superman 3. Let's get into it. Look at your eager faces.
you have weird host energy. I'm just gonna say it.
You've got weird fuck off energy. Hammer. You need to understand.
Rile the autistic man.
You need to
Rile the autistic man.
You don't need
Autism
to.
versus ADHD colliding.
You need to understand. Kirkwood's over. My reign of terror has only just begun.
Billy, help me! Help!
My Stalin-esque reign.
I've never seen a host just go, fuck off, Hammer.
It would be weird if they did it on programs that Kate is not.
You've got the energy of a police chief in a buddy cop movie in the 80s.
Yeah. Or it's like you're the substitute teacher just waiting for something to go wrong.
Hey, Hammer, I want your badge, I want your gun. Now fuck off.
I'm going to tell you what the world said after the follow-up single to Can't Touch This. Fuck off, Hammer.
Damn right. See?
Yeah.
Smooth. Thank you, guys. Superman 3?
Yeah. You suggested this.
Yes, I suggested this.
Why?
You suggested this to piss me off.
Yeah. Did it work?
Yeah.
Great. Then, all right, thanks. We've been watching bad movies with great comedians.
The story of this, I don't know, you weren't in for this, but one of the first things we talked about was, I don't know why it came up, but...
Because you love a tangent.
Yes. But it came up in it, and I raised the scene. There's a scene that we'll talk about in this that I think is just one of the worst bits of storytelling in a film ever. And it came up, and I think based on the fact that Superman, I assume because Superman is now out as a re-release.
Yes, so we are on the 45th anniversary, I believe, of the original 78 Superman. Directed by Richard Donner.
Yep.
And I think that's a great movie.
I think the first two are good.
And this is the one where everyone says, right, this is where it starts to go a bit wrong.
So we were chatting before you guys got here, and it was said to me that someone quite likes Superman 3. And my problem with Superman 3 is that we all know that as a bad movie, Superman 4 is next level. Mm-hmm. And I think Superman 3 gets away with so much. I've thought Superman 3 is bad for a period of time, but I think the drop off, Superman 4 is not only a bad film, it's a terribly made film as well. Like because that was one of the canon ones. We talk about this back if you look at the Masters of the Universe. They put the money into the Masters of the Universe. Canon put money into the Masters of the Universe and pulled the money on Superman 4. And I think Superman 4 is legendarily bad and it's a terrible movie. And I think that hides the crimes of how bad Superman 3 is.
Yeah, it's like being like the third worst dictator or something. Like the big hitters.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You don't want to be Pol Pot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nobody gives a fuck. So I was going to ask, so Rick, I assume me and you're kind of roughly the same age. That
really?
How old is that?
No, listen, unlike you guys.
How old are you?
How old am I? I'm fuck you, Hammer. That's how old I am. None of your goddamn business. Old enough to put you over my knee, young lady. Yeah, that's right.
In
and you as well, Thorburn. Rick, producer Paul, there's near enough for everybody here.
I like how anytime I speak, your voice gets raised immediately. I just like I grind your grits or something.
It feels very much like Chris lives is a principal in a porno, and no one else is.
You're mad that no one's fucking.
I don't over my knee.
I don't.
You're not allowed to do that. I'm sorry.
I'm not as au fait with pornography as you. Do you mean like principal as in the principal person, or as in a school teacher?
As a school teacher.
Right. Okay. I really wasn't sure. Neither. Thanks, Rick. So this would probably be a film that we watched a lot as a kids. Like it was kind of a big deal, the Superman franchise.
Yeah. I think Superman 1 and 2. It's odd. Superman 4 as a kid passed me by. I didn't get to see that in the cinema. I wanted to see it because it looked. You got into the idea of Superman. Is like these are great. Those things as a kid you don't realize that they're bad films. Like you just accept it for what it is. But there's a definite degrading all the way through these of this.
But as a child, you wouldn't have felt that. Like, do you have a love for these kind of films in general? The Christopher Reeve Superman?
Yeah, do you know what? I probably felt, as a kid, it was to choose, and I don't know whether this was a camp at the time, because of it's a John Williams score that for me echoes the music's so iconic in the Superman movies, but it's up there with Star Wars as well. And I probably there's a level there that I was much more Star Wars orientated than Superman. It's a film that would be on at Christmas, and I would watch it, and it would be great. I was never a comic book kid, even though you would assume I was.
100%.
What kind of kid were you?
Computer games and no friends.
A computer geek, that might have some thematic resonance with this movie.
You have no idea.
You didn't like this movie?
Yeah. So I was. Look, I mean, I pirated my first. I have a love for the film First Blood because it was the first film I learned to pirate.
But you wouldn't steal a car.
Yeah, exactly. This is being recorded. The statute of limitations is not over. You're going to jail, my friends.
I'll be honest with you. I've got text messages from you asking for
asking for this film. Don't worry.
And I will from now on. I will always be asked for you to refer to me as Daddy, as you did in that.
I did call you Daddy Rick.
Yeah,
that's
you
true.
did. This. Look, I mean, you've never seen anything like it before. I think the tagline for this for the first Superman. The tagline for the first Superman is odd because it's commenting on how good. The tagline for the movie is commenting on how good the special effects are.
Which is?
You will believe a man can fly.
And did you?
I did, yeah. Because the green screen looks good. I think there are parts of this film that I like. I think Christopher Reeve is good in it.
In 3.
I think Christopher Reeve is great in all 3. I think there's parts of this. I hate everything about this film from the start of it.
We're gonna go through it, don't you worry.
I think there's bad casting. I think the villain's bad. I think the hacking is one. It's just one of, we have these things about tropes. We talked about tropes in films. The hacking in 80s tropes is horrendous.
I love some bad cinematic hacking. Like the ideal is if the hacking looks like a maze and you turn a corner and there's a skull and crossbones. It's like, I'm in the wrong end of the mainframe. What are you saying?
This probably wasn't even, that's too technologically advanced for this film, certainly. Yeah. Kate, what about you? Like, growing up, were these films that were in your consciousness? Was Superman and the Reeve Superman films a thing for you?
No, I'm very young, so no.
You don't look it, but that's fine. That's very strange.
I don't really remember watching any Supermans growing up. So this was
Supermans.
The Supermans.
The Supermans.
Yeah. How many are there?
4.
Well, there's new ones.
There's 4 of these ones and there's new ones.
Yeah.
Well, what I quite like it when Was it Bryan Singer was it Superman Returns?
Yeah,
right.
which he says is a sequel to the first two. Even though folk have mobile phones and stuff like that, it doesn't.
But
it's the worst thing that Bryan Singer's done.
Yeah,
yeah. That's the thing with the when you're starting a film that is almost a branch on the timeline of like. We're ignoring that Superman 3 happened and we're ignoring that those happened. Then you kind of like I find that an odd decision, but I also think I'd say probably where the films get bad. The first 2 are good, and then 3 is a definite.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that I went in knowing nothing. I raw dogged this film and
dangerous.
But I like going in like that. And I was gonna say, even
going in raw dog.
into a movie. Yeah.
Oh, no, see, if I said that, everyone would be like, oh, Chris is being fucking... Do you know what I mean? Double standards.
Yeah.
How old are you again?
It helps being gay.
Well, in some things. Societally, historically, probably not helped quite a lot, frankly.
Okay. We don't know it enough. And I will say for at the first half, other than the opening where I was like, are they trying to Three Stooges meets Airplane this movie? Why is it so silly?
Yeah, I thought it was like it's like a deleted Mr. Bean sketch.
So strange. And I was like, okay, this is going to be a very different tone than I thought. But I'll say the first half of the movie, I was like, I'm waiting for this to get bad enough to do a podcast about. And then when the fake kryptonite came out, from that point on, I was like, well, I got some opinions to say.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Thorburn, what about you, man? I imagine you would run around your garden with something tied around your neck.
Okay.
Not in my dreams, a noose.
Yeah.
But
when I was little, I did have a Superman costume.
That's where we were going. Sorry.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. In my head. The only words going through my head were Michael Hutchins.
No, I was also, I did have my kids first autoerotic asphyxiation kit, I did have that as well, but that's its own thing.
Little Hutchins.
Fisher Price,
My Little Pony. My first strangle wank.
Strangle wank, the cat, it's all but no, I had a Superman costume that was bought for Halloween, and then I just always wore underneath my clothes. I would go up to strangers and be like, look. I'm Superman, and I was 15. But no, I remember, Superman was sort of fundamental. I remember I had a Superman toy that was sort of at the end of the bed, and do you remember the Warner Brothers shop?
Oh yes.
It was fucking class. But they had sort of green plasticine that they would sell in tubs, and they called that kryptonite. And this is when I'm still learning all the Superman stuff, and I asked my dad, what's kryptonite? He's like, well, that's the one thing that can kill Superman. He's just explaining this completely normally, he wants to know. And that I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up all night, just looking at the Superman at the end of the bed. Wait, Superman can die, so the world is fragile, and
yeah. Superman can die. My mom and dad can die.
Yeah,
now everything's wrong.
Yeah. But similar to what you were saying, at that stage, you don't realize films are bad. The one that we had taped off the telly was Superman 4.
Really?
Yeah.
Quest for Peace.
You know how you're kind of at the mercy of whatever's shown on telly, so you wind up with the most random collection of films that you've got recorded, and so it was number 4 that I just watched all the time because that was the one that I had taped with the ad breaks and everything.
And I'm 100% sure we will get to number 4. There's no fucking way we're not getting to number 4 at some point in this, frankly, disgraceful podcast that we've decided to destroy our mental health for. I think everyone here who's seen, so you've not seen this, is this the only Christopher Reeve Superman film you've seen, Kate?
I'm going to say yeah.
It's because it's true.
I mean, to the best of my ability.
If you can swear on a Bible, please.
And you're answering like you're in Congress.
I know.
To the best of my recollection.
I'm sure maybe I've seen it when I was younger because, but I was also an idiot, so I don't remember a ton. Because I'm the youngest in my family, so we watched, the films for my parents and my older brothers. No,
In
My
the Line
Little
of
Pony.
Fire.
No, yeah, honestly, just so young, and I'd be like
On
watching
Golden
The Bourne
Pawns.
Identity and being like, whoa,
Yeah, that's the thing. Because the films I remember sitting down as a family to watch. I remember sitting down like as a kid watching like Jaws. And like there's that element of like, because again, you're at the behest of, you didn't have choice. So you've got things are on over Christmas, you video them, you've got what you've got, and you kind of would sit, I still rewatch films. There's people who don't rewatch films, right? I rewatch films all the time. Like people listen to the same album. I watch the same film over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think that element of like, you had a collection of videos and you go, should we watch a film? What is it? And like Superman would be one of the ones that would be on at Christmas, so you'd have it on video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Maybe for Kate and perhaps the listener stroke viewer who's not a Superman nerd like Thorburn, the context of like the first Superman film was like, it was the first big budget, like prestige kind of movie that was made for superhero stuff. Before that, it was always low budget schlock. It was campy TV shows. Whereas the 1978 Superman is, it's a real deal movie. They get Mario Puzo, who was the writer of The Godfather, to do the story. They get, Richard Donner, who's like a brilliant craftsman who made lots of great films you'll know. They get Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, like some of the best actors of all time to be in this superhero movie. But it's produced by a couple called the Salkins, I believe, producing partners, and they were always at odds with Richard Donner.
So he was on for 2 movies.
That's right. They were filming. The plan was to film 1 and 2 right after each other,
like this big epic kind of.
Yeah. The Salkins, their script that they wanted was really jokey, really slapsticky. Richard Donner got in a guy called Tom Mankiewicz to basically do a pretty much a full rewrite, from what I understand.
Can I ask you a question? Is that Mankiewicz? Is that the same guy? That's not
Mank.
That's not Mank, is it?
It's his family, I believe.
Is it really? So it's from the family that brought you Citizen Kane?
I believe so. I believe. I can't remember if he's the son or something, but I'm sure he's basically a family member of Mank for the David Fincher film and who wrote Citizen Kane. And he rewrites it. Donner wants to make this like a big proper epic. We're going to take it seriously. His big thing was verisimilitude. He was saying like, we want this to feel real for people. And he sort of takes the control away from the producers, the Salkins. The Salkins then, it becomes a huge big hit. Everyone loves it. Massive hit. They then sack him from completing 2.
He's filmed a lot of 2.
A big chunk of it.
Yeah.
I believe something like 75%. And then bring in a guy called Richard Lester, who was famous for doing like 60s swinging comedies. He directed A Hard Day's Night by the Beatles, which is a great film, but very tonally different. He finishes 2.
Didn't refilm anything, just finished.
No, he re-edited and they refilmed and rewrote.
So he could get the director's credit, allegedly, because there was like a percentage you've got to hit
Right.
for him to get the thing.
But he doesn't fuck it up.
He doesn't fuck it up, but again, the groundwork was already laid by this team of Donner and Mankiewicz, who are really the kind of auteurs behind the first one. So now we get to 3. Donner's got nothing to do with this one. Mankiewicz has refused to come back because of his loyalty to Donner, and this is like full on the Salkins with their like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to give it to Lester and some of the original writers of the script that the Donner originally was like, this is no good.
So we had like 78 for Superman 1, 80 for Superman 2.
And this is 83.
This is 83. So Richard Donner is what, maybe, is it 2 years shy of going and doing like Lethal Weapon or something like that?
Yeah, I think Lethal Weapon's like 85, 86. Donner did all the Lethal Weapons. He did the Goonies.
He did The Omen.
They did The Omen, So like a real heavy hitter, like brilliant. And genuinely, the first Superman film is brilliant. Like it's really well made. But this is why I thought I would choose this, because this is the one where the real sort of, for want of a better phrase, artists behind the beloved ones, they're out the door, and this is purely like a kind of cash grab. And this is where the wheels start to fall off. And I think you're right, Rick. I think everyone knows that 4 is a terrible one because that's the cheap one.
Yep.
Personally, I think this sucks as well. This is pretty bad.
Yeah. Are you aware of 4? Are you aware of how bad 4 is?
I know nothing.
Go in raw.
So 4 is...
But with protection.
Like,
I have to protect
I'm
myself.
mentally protected.
Yeah.
What I'll say about 3 is, again, I say this every time. Like, there are films that are bad for different reasons. 4 is from the Canon era. So it was the rights moved to Canon Films, which were just looking for different intellectual properties to throw out that they could put out. And 4 had its budget slashed, and it's got sequences in it where there's the same shot is used. There's one shot that's used like 5 times. And it's the same shot of like a guy of Superman flying out, and they re-edit back to it. Whereas you had Metropolis in these films, and it's like New York or the Big Apricot.
Yeah,
The Big Apricot.
That was a nice bit of business in this film. Yeah.
The Big Apricot. What in number 4? I think am I right? It's Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
Milton Keynes is Metropolis. That's the level you look at. So that's why that's like 4 by 4 looks like it's got a porn parody version of like it's that kind of level production. So that's why the drop off for 4 is so bad.
Right.
And that's why 3 gets hidden as like it's not as terrible.
I will say that a lot of choices don't make sense in this movie. And it's almost like there was a similar like to Breaking Bad where people are like, oh, if Breaking Bad took place in Canada, there would be no Breaking Bad.
Because it'd
be
have
like,
healthcare.
oh, you have cancer. Well, we're going to start your free chemotherapy next week.
Yeah.
Same for this, where it's like he gets denied his next unemployment, check, and then suddenly is a genius of computers and does this evil stuff. And I was like, if universal credit existed for everyone, we would never have a Superman 3.
Well, it's everything even from that opening sequence, right? Of where you find out if you're a company trying to get computer programs in, where do you run your ads? On the back of matchstick packets.
Yeah.
Like, how's that a thing?
It's so basically, it starts with a slapstick sequence, as I believe Kate mentioned, which is wild. There's like a Mr. Magoo-esque blind guy.
Yeah. Who doesn't know the difference between his dog and a road painter thing.
Yeah, a road painting machine. A guy falls in a hole in the ground. There's like somebody ends up with a pie in their face. There's a mime. Like already, like it's just like
There's a guy whose job. There's a guy who what does he sell on the streets of Metropolis? He sells animatronic penguins.
penguins. Yeah. It's so already you're just like, what we're watching. This is a bit dog shit. But then we get to the real start of the plot.
No. Can we please appreciate that it is not possible for a man to drown in his own car? Even from that moment, he crashes. There's a. Well, that's my notes, Fox. You've got Christopher Reeve just on the streets. You've got, for no reason, someone runs out and there's a bank robbery that is never addressed. A gun goes off, a car crashes, it crashes over a water fountain, and a guy is almost drowned in the middle of the car.
And Superman he saves the guy in the car, but
he crashes over the water fountain, which makes me suggest that he's in some sort of Flintstones car where the water's coming up but yet can't go back down.
The guy crashes over that, and apparently the sunroof, which gets ripped off, is not openable. The windows won't come down, and it's just one of those things. The water level in the car
safety in the 80s, Rick. You know, it was you didn't even have to wear a seatbelt in those days, mate. You know,
which is also shown by them in the first scene smoking indoors, and I was like, God, those are the days.
Used to be a real country. You know? But that's it. So it starts with Richard Pryor. He's in the unemployment office and he's getting denied his dole money. And he asks somebody in the queue for the unemployment office for a light. And on the back of that, the pack of matches, there is an advert that says, "Would you like to be a computer programmer? Start today."
Yeah, make big money.
Did anyone see? Does anyone know the phone number you got to dial in order to apply for that job?
No.
The phone number you got to dial to get that job. It's genuinely 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
How did? Oh my god!
Which I think shows you the care and attention that went into this film.
Yeah.
It's Fincher-esque.
But the screenplay said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Obviously not that.
Yeah.
We'll put in a real number.
But better.
And the Salkins are like, what, we made of money? Print it.
Yeah.
Oh, I made it numbers.
Those are all the numbers.
Hey, we're not. I tell you what, we're not made of money because we're not diverting half a penny from every paycheck into a siphon account.
Which is, I think, that is the scheme. So basically, Richard Pryor, he goes along and finds out that he's some sort of like whiz at computer programming.
Yeah.
And
That annoys me.
I was about to say, Rick, I imagine you have notes.
Look, I have a it's the thing that happens in films, and there's some films I sort of forgive it for. What is what's the Christopher Nolan film that he did after Inception? He did the and it goes the backward thing, and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Tenet.
Tenet. Yeah. It's a ridiculous film.
One of the best films ever.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
not. Right. And,
One of the most films ever.
There's a bit in that where he goes to see a scientist, and she just goes, she goes, it's reverse radiation, right? And then it's reverse radiation, and you kind of and then goes. And then he goes, what? And then she just goes, don't think about it too much. Right.
Which is one of the reasons why it rules.
Right. And you just like, and you say, okay, but you watch it and go, I'm watching that whole lot film, you're watching it going, but someone would have to come along. The bullet's there. Someone's got to come along earlier on to remove the thing and put the bullet into there's a thing, the full film.
We live in a Twilight world, Rick.
Mate, so this annoys me so much more because the computer scene is a guy, is Richard Pryor sitting there and a guy going, the woman goes, how do you put in 2 coordinates? And the guy goes, it's not possible, you can't do it. And then he goes to Richard Pryor's computer and goes, how are you doing that? And Richard Pryor's just going, I don't know how I'm doing it.
Yeah, because this man who doesn't like to work in fast food restaurants is a computer whiz.
It's a computer whiz, and it's just that, but it's this thing of like
that felt like a burn. I didn't mean to be, but it was annoying because you're just like, how convenient.
The whole thing.
Unlike Kate, I like to say I respect our fast food workers.
I do too.
Oh, it's a bit late now. It's a bit late now, Kate. All right, cool.
Yeah,
the amount of chips I eat, man.
Only a fast food worker.
Wow, Kate.
I hate that reversal of character.
Only doing woman's work.
Where it's like they're painting him as being like, this guy doesn't like to work, and I was like, just give people universal credit and whatever. But then it moves to this, and he's like, I'm a genius, but still doesn't. It's just like, you can't get a peg on where he is, because then later at the end of the movie, like this big supercomputer, and he goes, my baby, daddy's home, and I'm like, but so you like computers? Like,
it's like he doesn't know what he's doing, but then he does.
But then he's like, oh, I am a computer guy, and I'm like, I don't think you are. I think you're a money guy.
I think Richard Pryor is actually really bad. I think he's in it because of the name. I think he's terrible casting in this.
They don't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
And so he was on an episode of like Johnny Carson, and he just happened to say, I'd love to be in a Superman movie. Yeah. And they were like, he's a big star, let's put him in.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
God.
I
tell you, honestly, I think better casting, Gene Wilder. If Gene Wilder was doing the shtick from like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or something like that.
I think even better, different script.
Oh, the script is awful. The script is terrible.
I mean, we're firefighting at this point, Kate. But yeah, I mean, if we could go back in time, if there was only some sort of like reverse radiation entropy, much like the great movie Tenet, and we could go backwards.
I mean, if we're talking about that, if you want to go back in time, don't quote Tenet. Superman 2, bitch.
Oh, yeah. Fair play.
I also have to say, so then after that kind of bit, the Superman theme song starts playing. And I don't think I've seen the movies, because the only memory it unlocked in my head, I grew up Lutheran, which is like a lazy type of Christianity.
Look at us all sliding into that challenge. The eyes lit up of everybody in the room here.
Yeah.
Billy, please.
Billy's dead and he's not coming back. Billy's in the boot of my car, which is weird because I don't drive.
But the only memory it brought up was that we used to have a prayer that was the Superman theme song.
What?
Yeah, we were cool Christians.
Can you?
It goes, thank you, God. God for giving us food. Thank you, God, for giving us food. Our daily bread, we're going to be fed. Thank you, God, for giving us food. Amen. And then you can eat. And that we got to choose our prayers. Like Mom would be like, Kate, it's your turn to choose what prayer we do. And I would be like, the Superman one, because it was the quickest. And we could eat fast.
Can we, what other 80s hits did you have to, did you have one to the Darth Vader theme?
That was the only cool one. Everything else was like, Daily Father.
Daily Father.
Our heart in heaven. Look, nothing else went in here. There should be a Star Wars one because I think that would bring me closer to God.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's a fucking good prayer.
Right?
Like, it fucking rules.
Our daily bread, we're going to be fed.
That's much better than the lyrics we came up to, like for the Superman theme when we were little. It was just like, hey, look, there he is in the sky. What's the name of that guy? Superman. Like, that was
Still better written than this film. Fucking fair play.
Yeah.
I do also like that. Basically, we've come up with the best argument for a universal basic income. That this film would never have
Don't let
existed.
this,
Yeah, no. If you tolerate this, your children will be next. So Richard Pryor.
I still don't think Kate was born when that song was released.
Listen, I'm not. This train don't stop. All right,
What
get
does
on
that
board.
mean?
Get
What?
on board with our niche old man references.
Oh, I wasn't complaining about
Oh,
anything.
I know. Thank you, Kate.
I'm fine with your age. I don't know if you are.
Please.
Wow. I'm fine with your age, Principal Scott.
Jesus Christ.
No, not in that way. Just like
Yeah, we
It's
know.
great that you don't let it hold you back.
Yeah.
But can we just appreciate that what we need to do right now is that we are sitting here with mild-mannered Chris Scott.
Yeah.
Can I get you to take the glasses off, bitch?
Oh, his posture's terrible.
Yeah.
But yes.
do it again.
Do it again.
Where did Chris go?
Wow. Yeah. So basically, Richard Pryor, he's a computer whiz.
Yeah.
And he has that classic conversation that you have with every one of your workmates.
As you're walking around for lunch and you just go, "Hey, I pay tax," and the other guy goes, "Yeah, they do, but they paid you half a penny less."
Mm-hmm.
Where does it go? It just goes nowhere.
This is also the plot of the
Office Space.
Yeah,
Office
Office
Space.
Space.
Well, yeah, they in Office Space they say, "Oh yeah, this is the plot from Superman 3."
Do they say that?
They do. They do.
Wow,
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that.
But at least that is the whole plot of the movie. Here it's like one step
Yeah.
to a million, which I want to bring up. The antagonist in this movie keeps changing. Like
Yeah.
every scene, it's like, you're the bad guy. Now now it's
Yeah.
the robot sister and the computer and like.
We'll get to the robot sister,
We'll
but
get
yeah,
to
when
her.
the robot sister showed up, I'm like, "Girl, you are 10 minutes before the end of this film. All right, what are we doing here?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So that little thing there with the money just gets you to, well, now he's committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
Now the guy that's not Gene Hackman, the bad guy in the film.
Robert Vaughn, who it's just bargain basement Lex Luthor.
Yeah,
It's
it's another. So basically, the bad guy in this, they couldn't get Gene Hackman back because he has a career, and they get Robert Vaughn, who's fucking class. I really like Robert Vaughn. I think like Napoleon Solo, and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. He's great.
Yeah.
He's in The Magnificent Seven, is it?
Yeah.
He's cool in a lot of things and would play a great slimy business
But
guy.
it feels like it doesn't feel like a villain that is anywhere near a match for like Superman. It's what he is a bad business guy, which is like very 80s. It's that kind of like, it's like that rise of Wall Street, that rise of thing. And what do you do? Well, I own things and I just do things because I do what I want, and I want what I want when I want it. That's what the guy is. He's just archetypal, mean-spirited business guy.
But he's quite dull in the film.
But he has a magnificent assistant. Slash psych. What did it? This is my psychic nutritionist.
Which is a good line. That's a good line.
It's a great line, and it's Pamela Stevenson.
Yes.
She's fantastic.
She's great in
in
this.
this.
But I was like, great, this character is pretending to be dumb, but is really smart. She'll have a storyline at the end.
No.
Well, that one-off joke I thought was fantastic. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say it
because
right
she
now.
plays because she's dressed and styled like a complete bimbo.
Yeah,
but
and then
actually,
she's reading Immanuel Kant. And
Yeah.
which is a great, like you say, it's a great fucking
then-
concept.
But I
they
was
do
like,
nothing with it.
No, nothing.
But as good as they are with that character, the jokes about the sort of ugly sister.
Yeah,
thing,
he's just a
it's
normal looking woman.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like
Yeah.
there's a point in it where journalists say, "What's up with the picture?"
Oh yeah, at the beginning I forgot about that.
What's
it's blurry, and they're
it's
like,
blurry.
she
just looks like that. You just look out of focus. Like
That would be great if she was cut about the whole film
Yes.
just blurry.
Yes.
blurry, looking like Japanese porn. Like,
and you're like, what her skin is like, amazing.
But yeah, and you go. So what you're doing is you're doing with the Pamela Stevenson character. You're sort of doing this weird subversion thing, and then with this, you're weirdly leaning into this odd brother sister relationship that you don't quite develop, but you're making her a little bit like what was the Bond movie where his wife dies, and it's like.
Oh, was that on Her Majesty's
On a Majesty's Secret Service, there's
man.
like it's a little bit. There's a woman, and she's got the pointy toe like thing.
Rosa Klepp or something?
Rosa Klepp,
Yeah.
and you're making this woman a little bit like, oh, we've seen Rosa Klepp. Well, that's what this woman looks like.
Have we done a summary of the film? Usually we do
we're-
a brief summary for the listeners.
Superman 3, Superman fights a boring business guy. Done. We're going through it bit by bit, but, okay.
Just because I don't want to skip ahead and reveal things if it's not.
Yeah, in case anyone's desperate to see the end of this. Absolutely. So Richard Pryor is stealing money from his corporation. The boss of that corporation is played by Robert Vaughn. He's the big bad businessman. He's got a sister who everyone is like, oh, look at her. She's gross. She's just a normal.
She wears grey suits. What a bitch.
Normal looking woman. And he's got a bimbo, played by Pamela Stevenson, who's actually really smart. Robert Vaughn's like, this guy's stealing off of me. Oh, I'm going to use him and his computer skills because I can't find anyone else that can work a computer. And
It's not that. It's that Richard Pryor is a computer genius.
Yeah, the only computer genius in Metropolis.
Yeah.
But also an idiot because he bought a fancy car with the money.
Yeah, again, quite a good joke, but it's badly done.
Well, it's a good joke for a sketch, but not when you're trying to get an ultimate long payoff on that.
Yeah.
So Richard, so he basically, gets Richard Pryor to do his bidding so that he can make more money, right? And he sends him, he's like, but we need to get you squirreled away somewhere.
So, running concurrently with this, what you have is you have Clark Kent going back to Smallville.
Oh my god, I love the pitch that he brings to the Daily Planet. I've got a great idea for a story.
The Daily Planet, which is like the big news thing.
Yeah.
The big news, he burst into the office. I've got a great idea for a story. Is it about the burgeoning crack epidemic? No. Is it about Iran-Contra? No. Was it?
Is it about the guy? Is it about the guy almost drowning in his car getting rescued by Superman? No. I've been invited back. I've been invited back to Grosse Point Blank. Essentially, that's the.
Like
going
Clark,
back-
you can just book a holiday.
Yeah,
You can do
he's-
that. You don't have to pitch this as a story.
But he's going back to his old school reunion.
Why do you guys not want lovely stories in newspapers? What do you have against a lovely homecoming?
What have you got against?
Do you read The Walrus? Do you read The Atlantic? Do you not like nice things sometimes?
I just want to be informed, and you have evidently.
I would
are
like to be informed, but also I would like to feel something in my heart.
Kate is like, I wish that the Iran-Contra affair was never uncovered, and that's fine. That's fine, okay? But that's really
No,
unfair.
I want to be informed, but I also I let this guy. They fucking Marley and Me dog guy wrote about dogs. Everything's allowed.
Was Marley and Me in a newspaper?
Yes, it was
it?
based
Oh.
on a real thing where a guy wrote like fluff article because people need to just be like introspective about, I want to know how it is moving from Metropolis and then going back to Smallville, and there's a story there. I don't know why I'm fighting this fight. This is the hill I'll die on.
Kate,
That's fair.
You're if you're the editor of a newspaper, it's going out of business within like a week. Nobody wants good news.
What? The fucking what's his face? No, look. What's his face during the pandemic? Jim from The Office made a whole entire good news.
You enjoyed that?
I didn't watch it, but he sold it for a lot of money.
Kate, you're
All
busting
I'm saying is,
you're busting the evil
I miss
businessman.
Billy. I'm gonna fight.
Billy's Billy's gone.
He's dead. Yeah, okay. But I think of all the things to pick on in this movie, these pieces exist.
That's fair. Okay, sure. It's just funny that he's like, desk mates with like Lois Lane, who is going out doing real journalism.
But I also like at the same time, just so they don't have to include Lois in this at all. She goes to Bermuda.
She walked away after 2 contract reasons. So that's why it's a cameo role. So basically, what you need to know from 2. I mean, there's weird things in 2 with like, because like obviously the whole trope of Superman of the whole trope in a lot of superhero things is people don't like this kind of had the thing that started the trope of like people not of keeping your secret identity thing, which is then sort of almost subverted at the end of Iron Man in a kind of like when Iron Man announcing himself. Right. Superman 2, she discovers who Superman is, and then there's a kiss at the end which wipes her memory. So what you've got is
that's the thing he can do.
Yeah.
So
and
like
he did that on purpose?
Like a dirty Man in Black.
He did, So
that's really sexual harassing.
What you've got is the thing is with him is that he
being like a kiss and you'll never remember because you consented, but you'll never know. Like what the hell?
The thing is with that's part of the thing with Christopher Reeve's performance is that I think Christopher Reeve in these films is giving a Cary Grant-esque performance. I think he's that good. Yeah. I think he's really Christopher Reeve even in this film is really good. Yeah. Right. And there's switching from it does feel like 2 characters. It goes from feeling bumbling and funny and clumsy to feeling like, oh, that guy's a hero. I do think that happens. I don't think he did enough with this, but technically he's still in love with Lois Lane and she doesn't remember. He's had a relationship with her, but he had to wipe her memory for her protection, and she doesn't remember anything to do with that. So it is a level of sacrifice. If that was now and storytelling now, it would be more dealt with. But she's not in it. She plays a cameo role in it. She plays a camera on it because of the contract thing. Yeah. The weirder thing is the position. The weirder thing in this thing is that 2 variations on bingo machines get more screen time than Lois Lane. It's a weird thing that bingo is like a runner.
It's a runner in the film.
Joke.
There's a running joke about a bingo machine.
And you're like,
one of the better performances in the film is the bingo machine.
Yeah, like in the opening credits, like it ends with and Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. And normally these like ands, it's like very sort of like. It's not the main character, but it's a significant supporting role. In this, it genuinely does feel like an afterthought. Like, and Lois Lane. It should be like, and the bingo machine.
Did anyone else find the credits weird?
Oh yeah, because they're not in space.
It was like reverse Star Wars.
It was like reverse Star Wars.
It looked really cheap.
It looked really cheap.
The title credits.
But when was this made? I feel like I was like.
So again, though, if you watch the first 2, the credits look really groovy and cool. They put a bit of art into them.
It's the equivalent. Like this film, the start of it has the impact of Star Wars, where you'd not seen that writing and heard that music. This parodied a lot of that, or not parody, but mimicked a lot of that kind of thing. And it had that kind. But I thought when the credits are coming up, the screen looks blurry. It looks bad.
That's just Vera's face.
It's the only way they could focus on that poor actress.
My sister, she's so blurry.
So Clark is like, I'm going to write a story about going back to Smallville for my school reunion.
So this will lead to another thing I fucking hate about this film. the him going back to Smallville. Right, because you got him going back to Smallville. Because
when you left your hometown, you were like, I'm never coming back. I'm never coming back. People.
I'm not allowed back. There's a difference. There's people that want me. But yeah, so this. Oh fuck. This has one of those little things. I have a hatred of certain things in film.
I'm glad that's what you said. I've got hatred of certain things in film.
Oh boy. I have a genuine hatred in story writing of coincidence. There is a
me too. Oh,
there is a I think it is. Have you ever seen the? I think it's Pixar's 7
Rules of Storytelling.
7 Rules of Storytelling.
Yeah.
Right, and one of them is this. one of them
It's always have a rat that controls someone.
I like the idea of your face opening up and there's been a rat in there now.
It would be more. I would be more popular.
It would make a lot of sense.
I'll cite the film. I have a problem. There's a film. What's it called? GoldenEye. Right. I have a problem with the film GoldenEye because right at the very start of that film, James Bond's just driving on a driving test and happens to bump into the bad guy for the rest of the film. It's just one of those things like...
Yeah, too much fate.
And it's that idea of fate. This does exactly the same thing because he goes... Superman goes back to Smallville. And then you get this moment where they go, hey, we need to... The plan, by the way, of what the bad guy's plan is to use a weather satellite to create weather to destroy a crop in Colombia. And you go, yes, because all bad guys want to control coffee.
Well, it's basically
as opposed to other Colombian crops.
And he wants to have a monopoly on
coffee. Yeah,
It's
so
like a trading places kind of fucking bad guy. Do you know what I mean?
I think that again. So basically, the important thing is that they're sending Richard Pryor away somewhere. They're like, oh, we need to send you somewhere.
We need to find a supercomputer to control this weather satellite.
Somewhere that's out the way so it won't get traced back to us.
Small.
Oh, clever. There's a bit of foreshadowing for you for the next scene.
Yeah, cut to Smallville.
Smallville.
Okay.
Oh, it's Smallville.
It's got to Smallville.
Pay off immediately.
And Superman opening a car door into Richard Pryor.
Yeah, because
Basically,
he's a clumsy guy.
Right, and he opens a car door into Richard Pryor, and you're just like, man, like the level of bullshit of this, and then the security guard on the computer company is Clark Kent's old rival from school,
and he's a drunk and
Oh, I love this guy so much.
Is that because of the mustache?
So yeah, was Brad.
Style icon, Brad.
So we've got the bad guys. They're like, right, we're gonna get a monopoly on coffee. I think that was also the plot of one of the last Avengers films. And
it's Thanos. Thanos with his plan. Thanos with his plan for half roast.
Thanos and his
Don't talk to me until I've had my coffee.
Thanos and his two half siblings, Dow and Egbert. So they've sent Richard Pryor there. So while we've got this right, okay, some chicanery. He's going to get a weather machine. He's going to destroy a crop in Colombia, and that's what's going to raise the price of coffee for Robert Vaughn and his sister, his out of focus sister. We also get a bit of domestic drama from Clark Kent. He's heartbroken from the last film. He's gone home to Smallville, and he gets to meet his the one that got away, Lana Lang,
which is very similar to Lois Lane.
He likes the double L.
He loves like,
He's also had sex with all of Los Lobos. Fact. That's the most modern reference I'm going to do today as well. That's going to be great. So Lana Lang, played by Annette O'Toole.
Yep.
I thought she was great.
Yep.
And it's a nice spin in since we can't have Lois Lane in this film. She works very well in being a compelling love interest that's completely different, and she's in love with Clark as opposed to the Lois Lane dynamic.
I actually really like the line in it where when he's typing his report up afterwards, saying the prettiest girl in high school is still the prettiest girl in high school. Very nice line.
Because she's still in high school, which is an issue. I do.
Yes, it is, Principal Scott.
Krypton ages are different, man. Actually, she's got an old soul.
My next favorite moment, fucking hell,
she's wise beyond her years.
Dear Lord.
And they laughed, and Chris went to jail.
Hey, it's not me. Superman is the guy you've got a problem with here.
My next favorite part is when he's having a picnic with Lana Lang, and he eats dog food unknowingly and then on purpose.
Yeah.
And I was like, what a power move.
Can we appreciate just how unpicnic-like the weather is for that picnic? It starts with a picnic scene.
In a patch of grass next to a cornfield, which for me that's normal growing up. But
it starts with a picnic scene, and it starts with rolling thunder in the background as a and then they're just putting out stuff there as
This might be why Lana Lang has never left Smallville. She's not that bright. That might be, God bless her. She's the prettiest girl in high school. She's not the smartest.
I don't know if you noticed this when they're at the reunion. None of the photographs of Clark Kent having wearing glasses. So it's just Superman's face up all around the place.
Yeah.
And so she looks at Clark Kent, right, and then is about to meet Clark Kent. Is about to obviously the kid gets
Superman,
So Lana Lang's got a kid.
Yeah.
She's a MILF. And don't look at me like that.
Too old for Chris Scott.
I'm not entirely sure why I'm getting all this. I'm a nice man. I'm just normal men. Okay. And if you believe that, you believe anything.
My name's Chris Scott. I'm just a normal guy who makes sure he cleans his internet search history every time he turns his computer on.
I clean my internet search history and my wet room. So
Chris Scott's wet room. That is a podcast I never want to be on.
It's I have to get charged double because of the cleaning rates after.
I'll be a guest.
So Chris Thorburn has absolutely lost it now.
My tangy watermelon. I don't care anymore.
Just to be clear, is a sweet.
Can you tell us a bit more about your tangy watermelon?
Yeah, can we just be clear that Kate's referring to a sweet that she gave Chris?
Yeah.
Because it sounds like Chris Scott's going to be spitting out seeds.
Tangy watermelon is the worst euphemism I've ever heard.
Tangy watermelon is my pseudonym in my other line of work.
Yeah, tangy watermelon is how I log on to the dark web.
If we can get sponsored with my tangy watermelon,
we'll be rich with tangy watermelon. So he's having this sort of romantic relationship, but it's not quite romantic. I don't think they were born.
It's very wholesome.
It's very wholesome.
It's very wholesome, and I think it's very wholesome, and it's very. There's like no mention of certain. It's like she's a single mom.
Did her husband die or something, or just leave? Because
I think he was just a
they do mention it.
Very man, and then he was shitty, and he left.
Oh, he left.
Well, yeah, he was a man. He couldn't put up with her, or like no.
To be fair, the kid is kind of annoying. Like kids sometimes just give you bad vibes.
Yeah.
Lana Lang's kid is slightly annoying.
I think you don't get to know the kid because he runs away with the dog. Cut to, he's unconscious. And you're like, we don't need to know.
You don't even see what happens. No. There's so much of that in this film where there's like, I feel as though there's a bit we'll talk about coming up, but there's a bit where you feel like you should have seen what happened. And then it cuts to Richard Pryor telling a story about what happened.
That feels like a scene where they shot an action sequence and they were like, something was wrong with it. It was like, we need to repurpose this.
How do we get this done?
Yeah.
And this sort of feels the same. You sort of see they go. He walks
so
off.
they're at a picnic.
They're at a picnic.
They're next to a giant cornfield with loads of like combine harvesters or whatever.
Yeah.
Deadly combine harvesters. And the mum's just like, go run away with the dog. It'll be fine.
I've seen enough of Clarkson's farm, right, to know that when you're
weird brag. That's such a weird brag.
Genuinely, Clarkson's farm is.
That also sounds like a euphemism.
It does. Clarkson's farm is genuinely amazing TV.
All right. Okay. If you're, I liked this film. There, I said it.
Wow.
If we're just getting on
it. Chris Thorburn likes this film. You like Clarkson's farm.
I no longer feel ashamed.
So
wow.
But the thing with this is that then. When you look at even the scene with the combine harvesters, right? It's a field of combine harvesters, and they've got loads of combine. That's not how you combine harvest a field.
Sometimes it is.
It's a combo combine harvester.
No. You can have multiple combines going. If it's a big enough field and a big enough farm, you can. Yeah.
Yeah, but you do. But not. You don't have 15 of them in a line.
There weren't 15. There was like 3 of them.
No, come on.
Yeah.
No.
Are you kidding me? The farm part is the one part of the film I was like, this is relatable. So I tune in.
Is this how you ended up being the youngest in your family? Because you lost a brother to a combine harvester accident?
Well, I'll tell you what, this is genuinely true, right?
Oh, Jesus.
This is genuinely true. Right, as a kid.
We have Kate's younger sibling here.
I'm so scarred.
Help me. Hey, you guys.
Oh, thank God the wounds are out of focus.
So as a child, I had a tortoise.
Had being the operative word. I'm assuming.
I had a tortoise as a child, and where we lived, over the road from where we lived, in a cul-de-sac, was like this bit of land that belonged to the council, kind of thing. But it was never cut. The grass was like this high, and then.
And for the audio listener, he said about this high.
Yeah, but yeah, oh yes. And then, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't give a fuck about audio listeners. Fuck you. Like,
if every episode has one part where Rick just destroys the audience.
If you listen to this on Spotify, go fuck yourself.
Wait, tell us about the turtle.
It's not a turtle, it's a tortoise. Okay. So basically, what my mum did was my mum decided to move the tortoise from the back garden to the front garden and just leave it there because the sun was there
for ages.
No, just we don't know how long, but what we do know,
they're not fast movers.
What we do,
they can be fast.
Really?
Yeah. They're freaky sometimes. they'll come.
They're freaky sometimes?
Yeah. I, for like a couple months, stayed with a friend down in England before moving up, and his family had a tortoise, and like, it would be like, and then all of a sudden it would just get this and it would run and you're like, holy shit, and it would bite your feet.
All right.
So
you know what?
I'm on this.
I sit corrected. All right.
Yeah, so basically my mum puts it, because it's sunny in the front garden, my mum thinks she puts Tommy the tortoise.
Tommy the tortoise.
That was what my tortoise would go.
Oh, wow.
And you hate coincidences.
I do really hate it. And so she puts the tortoise out in the front garden, and then just goes in the house. And the next thing we know, is,
you're actually getting quite upset about this.
Yeah, it's just brutal. It gets even fucking darker as well. Next thing we know is this. She does this on the day, and then this is the day that the council decides to send a lawnmower man. To mow the lawn that has not been mowed in 10 years.
Jesus Christ.
And basically, the lawnmower man just basically hits the tortoise, and just this tortoise just flies through the air in what I think a Sam Mendes film would describe as a pink mist.
How big was it? It was just...
That's about so big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Football.
For the audio listener, he said so big.
So big, yeah. For the audio listener, go fuck yourself. So basically it goes through. And then so I get a message that my tortoise is dead.
It's like the worst game of Mario Kart.
I get a tortoise. And then my folks lie to me about it and tell me, I'm like, can I see? I need to see Tommy. I need to see
There
Tommy.
must have been something left to him.
No, not much.
A leg?
No, it was chunks.
So they lied. What did they say?
What they lied about what they did with him.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they just dump him in the bin, right? And they tell me that they buried that on the way up. I'm from Liverpool. My granddad lived in Scotland. Right, so my granddad lived in like Irvine, so I used to holiday in Irvine as a kid. Right, so my dad goes, I drove halfway up to Scotland, and I pulled over at the side of the road in a little forest, and I buried Tommy
with his people.
I buried Tommy in a great little patch, and I'm like that. What that led to was me for about 10 years afterwards. I was about 19 before I realised that didn't happen. Wow. So for about 10 years afterwards, every time we went up to my granddad's, I would ask, "Can we stop at Tommy's grave?" And they would just have to they'd have to lie to me
wow.
They'd have to lie to me every time. I go, "Oh, sorry, we went past it," and I would try and narrow it down as to where it was, and it just didn't. It never fucking clicked that they'd lied to me.
Sometimes my tortoise
That's why I don't speak to my mum and dad anymore.
Would steal a shoe and try and fuck it and make weird noises and come everywhere on the shoe. So just to balance your story out, I thought I'd tell mine.
Like, what happened to my Tommy? He got cancelled. That's what happened.
Yeah. Well, that was Watch Bad Tortoises with Great Comedians. Wow. Christ. I mean, listen, let's be honest.
I'm just saying, like, Superman wasn't there for Tommy.
Yeah. Frankly, that horrific, heart-rending story was still more fun than Superman 3. Let's be honest. So Richard Pryor, he breaks into a supercomputer.
Yeah.
It's guarded by a drunk man who also wants to bang Lana.
Yeah, her.
Who doesn't?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
a hot tamale.
he's the only option in town.
She's the only option.
Yeah.
He's the only option in town. Is the phrase, and he's sort of he looks like he sort of, who would he play? He sort of looks a bit like what's the guy's name?
Modern day Brad.
Who could you get?
Who would we cast as Brad
Like
the
Brad.
alcoholic?
No, but like Brad, the actor that's name is Brad.
Pitt?
No.
Walsh?
No.
Bradley Walsh. That's the guy.
He used to go out with Renee Zellweger, not do.
Oh.
Renee Zellweger? Right, I'm going to fucking look
Yeah.
up. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. He's sort of, it's sort of, who's the guy that went a bit nuts? Who's not Nick Nolte? Looks like Nick Nolte a bit.
Oh. Well.
He's in Point Break.
Oh, Gary Busey.
He's a bit, I think he's a bit Gary Busey-ish.
Ooh.
Yeah, like a younger, like
Bradley Cooper?
Yes.
I didn't know he went out with Renee Zellweger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for a while. I also think like I think modern day you get Bradley Cooper, or if you could convince Matthew McConaughey to like,
sure.
do something with that role.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper would give Brad like too much like pathos. He'd be pure like a Star is Born kind of mode. Like it's not funny. It's
Is
just
that
sad.
alcohol?
He'd have really great hair. Like, yeah. So, but he's like this only choice in town who's like a bit of a sad character, but also the security guard of where Richard Pryor gets into, because the coincidence continue, and then you were getting to like we're approaching the bit not only the bit of film I hate, not only a bit of this film I hate most. We're approaching the probably the bit of cinema I hate most in all of cinema land.
Yeah,
Is it the weather satellite?
Yeah, so he's trying to break into the weather satellite because he's obviously not a trained computer expert and just goes by vibes.
Yeah, intuition.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? Feel it.
And is also drunk at this point.
yeah, 'cause-
that was part of his master plan. I will also be drunk.
He must have. It's like he knew the guy was an alcoholic.
Can I point out? I don't know if you saw this. This is again one of the things. Do you see the code that he writes? You know when he steals the half cents.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh yeah, he just says put all half cents into my account.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. Run code.
It's like, yes, and then in this one is not a bit where he says something like where he types rather something like override all security measures, and it's like, oh well, that seems really easy.
And while he does that, spells override wrong.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. It's like, you know.
But that was the key, you know. If you spelled it right, it'd be like deny.
So he basically turns up, and it's almost like he turns up on, and it's almost like he turns up like a scene from like John Candy in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, like a salesman with alcohol.
Yeah.
And blags his way in, gets drunk. The building they're in is the supercomputer to control satellites, right? The name of the company they're in is the Wheat King. So the Wheat King has a double key encrypted system to get into their computer. Honestly, to get into this computer, I'm not far off like Tom Cruise and Dougray Scott fighting each other to get in. Like one coming in from the top, one coming in from the bottom. Like
Which is what I always wish for with Tom Cruise and Dougray Scott.
and you got this kind of odd thing, and then there's a point where they've got trying to get two keys into the.
Yeah, because you've got to turn the keys at the same time.
You got to put the keys in at the same time, and you're like, well, don't use your foot. Move the terminal closer. Just move it. Like
he's steaming. But so basically, he uses this to get the weather satellite, but he's kind of fucked up a bit because he's drunk. So what does he do, Rick? Come on, this is your favourite bit. Come on, very quickly.
Money comes out of banks.
Money comes out of banks.
Stoplights, signs go crazy.
This is Rick's favourite bit.
This is the thing, right? This is the thing. There's the stoplights go, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it is what level of code can you write that allows the green man to become sentient, climb up and punch the fucking red man? Like they have a fight. What the?
I know in this film the code was green man becomes sentient,
just like
and punch red man.
10, Rick.
Override.
20, go to 10. Like just the fucking level of, and it's like there's levels in this film, and it's the hacking. I accept in this film that Superman flies and Superman can do stuff. What I have a problem with in this film is within the writing that computers are magic. That's the level. The
Let
level.
me live in my little world where I think computers are magic, Rick. Like, I don't want to know the limitations.
There's two things that are magic.
Yeah.
Computers and friendship.
Yeah.
And you know neither of them.
I have not got the code for either of those things. But Superman stops his evil plan. He stops the because we were all worried about the Colombian bean farmers.
Even the level of even the satellite you're controlling, weather satellites do not have fucking space lasers on
Hey,
them.
you don't know that for sure.
I've seen Geostorm. I didn't believe Geostorm. It's the same story as Geostorm.
There's certain forums on the internet, and actually, there's a lot of space lasers, and you don't want to know who controls them.
So we jump to the midpoint, which is Richard Pryor also becoming a space matters specialist, getting the ingredient list for kryptonite, and fucking it up. But my best part is when he gives it the kryptonite, the fake kryptonite, to Superman. Superman takes it. It's green. It looks like kryptonite.
Can we?
And he goes, thank you.
Before that happens,
There you go.
before that happens, after he's created the weather storm, and that's the bit that I think you think as well that has been edited badly.
Yeah.
Right. So you get this bit where a computer stuff happens. You see a space laser go, and then it feels like you should see this action sequence. Right, but it cuts to a skyscraper with, for some reason, snow on the top of it.
Yeah.
So that the rich person can ski in the middle of Manhattan or whatever.
Yeah, on a roof, but it's not like dry ski slope. It's proper snow, and you got Richard Pryor talking about the problem with like why describing all the action.
Yes. Basically, he says Superman stopped our evil plan, and that's why Robert Vaughn is like, right, what we need to do is we need to stop Superman. Okay. So he gets Richard Pryor to develop kryptonite
after Richard Pryor skis off a roof and falls like a man from the Twin Towers,
but lands on his skis.
Funny.
Realistic. Let's move on.
Yeah, because we are about 25 minutes into the film, and we've been talking for like fucking 8 hours. So Richard Pryor has been tasked with creating kryptonite.
Yeah,
but there's a ingredient he can't figure out, so he just puts in tar. Is it tar?
He lights a cigarette indoors, baby.
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, tar.
Yeah.
We all love tar.
He's like, there's going to be a movie one day.
Yeah.
I feel it's going to be good. Tar. Okay.
It's tar is great at conducting and kryptonite. It's our two favorite things. So he gives this kryptonite, but because it's not like bona fide kryptonite. It doesn't kill him. It makes him evil.
No, it doesn't make him evil. No, it just kind of makes him horny.
Yeah. He's a fuckboy shit poster in real life, but also I don't understand. He touches it once and then he's just that. Isn't kryptonite? He needs to be around it.
Yes,
and then
normally.
But this alternate kryptonite with tar in it works after one touch.
It's like lung cancer or something. Yeah. So the kryptonite is meant to turn him. This kryptonite is meant to turn him evil, right? And it's like, he gets it and he goes around to Lana's house as Superman, and she's like, oh, I heard there's a fire on the bridge or something. There's a car crash on the bridge, and he's like, I'll be fine. I'll get it later, right?
There was a moment in that film where it's like the writers go, yeah, we need to make him leave here because we can't write what is going to come next.
Yeah.
But also, you can't make Superman too bad because there's a level of likability you need to maintain.
Well, this is the thing. He's meant to be evil Superman, and most of the stuff he does is like terrible pranks.
I love it.
He blows out the Olympic flame. He makes the Leaning Tower of Pisa not leaning.
He's the enemy of Italian small business owners.
Yeah, it's not evil. He's like a superpowered Dom Jolly. It's just like doing
and then he
pranks.
wants to fuck Pamela Stevenson. He's like, all right.
Yeah, like the worst thing that he does in like causing the oil spill is just so he can fucking get his hole. Like he's just like, what, you want it? Yeah, sure, I'll do.
Yeah,
like,
we've all done stupid things to get our hole.
He's just
evil Superman.
Like he's not evil. He's just kind of shitty, and I love it.
he's just like super guy. He's just an average guy, and that's so basically. They think, oh, well, this is good. He's evil, and they get Pamela Stevenson, who's a bimbo but smart, in 2 scenes, to seduce him.
No, she is smart.
But we only see it in 2 scenes.
But yeah.
because the fucking screenwriters are dicks. So she seduces Superman, right, to go and because he's got other businesses with oil, and he's like, oh, what I'll do is I'll make money from oil, which is fair. Like that's what happens. He's very much like your hero with the mustache, Saddam Hussein. Now, you said that's who you modelled it on, Thorburn. That was like, you're great. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is...
I told you that off the record.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry. But, so he goes and then he busts the side of a super tanker and the oil spills out. And then he goes back and it's pretty, like, you don't see it. But he does have sex with that woman.
Yeah.
Right? He has sex with the smart bimbo.
I fast forwarded. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
Well, did anyone else not think of when that's happening? You've seen the film Mallrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a conversation in Mallrats.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
Well, he's going to have superpowered sperm.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but just for you guys have seen the movie Mallrats, yes?
Oh,
and
of
both
course,
of you
of
are
course.
like, yeah.
Look at
And
us.
I'm like,
course we
I've
have.
never felt so out of my element.
Trust me, it's a good
So
thing.
are you aware of the film Clerks?
What?
Are you aware of the film Clerks?
Clerks.
Clerks. Okay, yeah. I was like,
Clark Kent is the guy.
So Mallrats is the next film that Kevin Smith did, right? And it's
okay.
it's basically
Kevin
it's
Smith.
it's basically Clerks on with a slightly bigger budget. Ben Affleck's in it, stuff like that.
Magic Semen. You're okay with Magic Semen, but not Magic
It's not.
Computers.
No, it's not. It's not got magic semen in it. It's what it is. The best thing about Clerks is the conversation about Star Wars and whether or not the people on the Death Star. That's kind of
One of the characters in Mallrats is a comic book fan, and they have the classic like Superman would. If he has sex with Lois Lane, he's gonna have superpowered sperm, etc.
And it would just
Right,
rip her
and it
apart.
would, right.
Yeah,
And that got Kevin Smith a job writing like one of the like sort of unmade 90s Superman films. They were like, well, this guy clearly knows a lot about Superman, so he wrote the draft for the unmade Tim Burton.
Am I not right that the guys that produced his films after that is Harvey Weinstein?
Oh yeah.
So I guess it's right in his fucking ballpark, innit?
Yeah.
So Superman, like, he's doing all this bad stuff, like getting laid, blowing out the Olympic flame,
Not washing his suit. Like
it's amazing. It's amazing that kryptonite makes your red cape go slightly darker red.
I just think he's pissing himself constantly.
What did we think about the scene then where he basically sort of, I guess, astral projects Clark Kent outside of himself?
He goes to a wrecking yard.
Yeah.
Yes.
His natural habitat for
Right.
fuckboys, and then it splits into two men.
Clark Kent and Superman, the good Clark Kent and the bad Superman,
Yeah.
and they fight each other.
But they really want to make out. I can feel it.
I mean, that would have been super hot.
For me, right, the most interesting part of this entire film is
that they should have made out.
is the bad Superman bit. Like I think from the like things like the comic books, there's interesting things in the comics that I'd love to see, because you've had odd films come out, like horror movies like Brightburn and things like that, which is almost like
What if Superman was evil?
What if Superman was evil? And I quite like that and there's Superman Red is the
What if Superman was
Sun.
communist?
if he falls in a different place, what does he become? So I like that.
And Kate's new comic, What if Superman was a fuckboy?
Absolutely, yes. And I think that the best part of the film is that section. I think Christopher Reeve's good in it, and I think from the I'd like to see him do more than flick peas at a bottle as a way of being bad.
Again, he's not that bad. He's just a bit shitty.
It's kind of just like the third act in every Will Ferrell film, where it's like, and now this is the part where he hangs out in a barn being shitty and
But also,
unwashed.
I was like, great, what solves this kryptonite thing? And it's Ricky yelling, "It's okay, Superman, you're just in a slump."
Yeah.
And that's like, whoa,
That's
and he splits
Lana's
into two men.
son.
So he
just-
might be shitty, but he's powerful.
Everyone else is shaming him, like, no, you've changed.
Yeah.
And like, you're just having a bad mental health day. All right, like,
I see you, I validate you.
Yeah, Lana's son is so annoying. He actually annoyed the kryptonite out of him. That's how fucking annoying that kid is.
And then they wrestle nude, and then
No,
Clark Kent.
that's a different. No,
That's what Rick posted.
boy.
That's why when I saw the movie.
So what's our read on the fight? Like, right, did that physically happen?
No.
Or is that like an internal thing?
So that's the thing. It can only logically be like his two sides of his
It's
psyche
Fight
fighting.
Club.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
I don't think so.
No, but the filmmakers are so dumb.
Yeah.
They actually destroy stuff in the wrecking yard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when the two sides join, and he's like, "Oh, I'm better now, and I can shave, and I'm a good guy." All the stuff's still wrecked in the wrecking yard that they've wrecked in the fight.
But
so
in Fight Club, you see Ed Norton thrown downstairs, and stuff gets broken as well.
So this film is as good as Fight Club. Rick Mullins' pull quote for Superman 3, the Fight Club of 1983.
So I think that it is an internal thing, but it had a physical manifestation.
Yeah, like Superman is like hitting himself in the face, like to sort of demonstrate, we're just gonna do this every episode.
And he also physically throws himself in a compactor and then flies back out and presses it and then flies back in and gets crushed and then punches his way out of it.
I don't think they thought this hard about it.
No, I know.
Yeah,
this is it's so badly done. I like it, and also we're speaking of things we hate. I hate that stuff where it's like, oh my god, they've turned him evil, or they've given him this pill, or they've hypnotized him. And it's like, how are they going to get out of it? And it's like they just think really hard.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm a good guy.
And he wasn't evil enough to make it interesting. So a big chunk of this movie was just like Superman being like, I'm bored. And it's boring watching a bored character. Yeah, so it's like, it just like fell flat. And then Richard Pryor is like, I'm trying my best.
I'll put on another costume. I'll do another voice. Come on.
Basically, Superman, when he's evil, is like, he's just bored, he's hanging out. It's like Lost in translation.
So
that's what it is.
I do wonder whether or not it loses something in terms of Superman if you've not seen the other two Superman films. That we come to that Superman and we see, if you've come to, because Superman isn't really Superman in the film. Like, he doesn't do anything.
For sure. But looking at it through my raw dog lens, just in trying to look at it as a movie structure, I think just like it's boring watching a bored person.
Yeah. It is really boring. This film.
So even though I know it's not so, and it is in the way an opposite, like, instead of evil, he's just this neutral. The opposite of love's indifference.
I would like to,
as the Lumineers.
Yeah, if you look at. It'd be interesting to see what you would do with that.
If the Lumineers had another L in a second word, Superman would fuck.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what you did that with that now. After when if you did that film on after things like Captain America's Civil War, where you have like proper emotions that were people and proper level of jeopardy. That would be interesting to see what you did with an evil Superman. And
basically what you're saying is like he should have like killed a bunch of kids or something, and that would have really that would have been more exciting.
Because they even do the thing of like the bit where we talk about where he's trying to seduce Lana, and he's like, and then she goes, "You're going to be late for the incident." Even when they get to the truck falling, I mean, the guys have got the guy out the truck.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like
because they can't make it feel. It feels like
you can't have him responsible for killing someone, because you then lose. You then he then never deals with that.
I think that compromise like leaves us in a very entertaining kind of version where again he's just kind of a dirtbag, and like as you said, Christopher Reeve is very good. I think like in the previous two films he's able to give two incredible performances.
He's great.
He's giving three in this one, like sort of like shitty like dirtbag Superman is his own, and like you can see Christopher Reeve kind of enjoying himself, like like he's got the 5 o'clock shadow.
You look at how that how far that bad Superman performance is, even just flicking the stuff at the bar, is away from Clark Kent, and that almost doesn't feel like the same actor. Do you know what I mean? That is a really nice performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's been said before, but the best special effect is Christopher Reeve. Yeah. Like he's great at it. Like he can play all these things. As can Robert Vaughn, who can play a really really poor man's Lex Luthor.
One of my I don't know if you know this. Joe, you know.
Is this another dead pet?
Yeah, you know what happened to? No, it's not. No.
Jesus,
you know what happened to Christopher Reeve?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Is anyone aware?
Keep it light.
Is anyone aware of the film that Christopher Reeve got beaten to by Denzel Washington?
No.
The Bone Collector.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
So it's genuine. So basically, The Bone Collector is Denzel Washington plays a paraplegic detective, and Christopher Reeve went up for it, and they went, no, we're going to go with Denzel because we think he can do that better than you.
And this is post accident.
Yeah.
Although I remember like Christopher Reeve did like the TV movie remake of Rear Window. Like
did he?
Yeah. Like
Oh, that'd be interesting.
yeah, it was fine. It's
not going to be as good as the original.
It's not. No.
Yeah.
And it's probably not much of a consolation than getting, the big Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
One collector.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's also like
You know.
the idea when you're doing a TV remake of something.
I know.
It's like
I know.
you're already setting it as going, we're going to do something not quite as good as the original.
I think even this, going to the like this shitty version of Superman is like I miss the internal any sort of access into him as a character. Like maybe I could have enjoyed it more if you had a moment where he was just like, I just don't know about it, like almost like really doubling down into it. But you stepped away from Superman as a character in that moment too, and he just like you only saw him do these things instead of like a moment of like I'm talking.
They need all that time to show you like Richard Pryor going like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so
and then
so
my
funny.
favorite part, which is how much money did they spend on these like personalized hot air balloons for 3 evil people to go down a cliff on,
then send
and Richard Pryor on a donkey.
It's like just the choices of the choices of that are mental to go like how do we get them to go down a hill? Could we? There's clearly a road to go down, but no, we'll use the hot air balloon.
That's right,
things.
because they're going down that sort of valley or whatever. Because Richard Pryor wants to build a supercomputer because he now loves computers.
Yeah.
He's ball deep in computers.
He's been into computers all the time, and so where would you choose to build a computer with no power? You build it. The most remote place you could ever imagine.
That's kind of bad guy layer stuff. I think it's. I don't think I wasn't so bothered about that, but his whole thing is
you see the workmen though. There's like there's a
well that's the thing is they send them down on a donkey, but they had to build this and there's like workmen going down in vans. It's like somebody could have given them a lift, right?
Yeah.
That's really uncool, guys.
There's a helicopter. There's a helicopter in a kind of like shipping things in, like the start of the Dolce Vita. Like that.
That's how you stay rich, though. You know what I mean? Looking after the pennies, the pounds looking after themselves. Yeah. So he's building a supercomputer, and it's very subtly put in the film. It's quite good. He's like, yeah, I'm going to build a supercomputer that can find anyone's weakness
and can defend itself.
Right. So now, Kate, so you were talking about the antagonist. So we're building.
Well, this is it. Like a whole other movie happens in the last 10 minutes of this movie because they finally get to the computer. And it feels like, did they really need Richard Pryor to be late so they could fuck things up? And then Pamela Stevenson's character somehow roots for Superman but doesn't. Well, Superman becomes a video game and they threw missiles at him, which is like, now I understand the movie Gentleman Broncos so much better. That's exactly where those scenes came from. And at one point Superman kicks a missile and it goes and they cut and paste that was my favorite part is him just kicking at a missile.
So he flies towards a supercomputer. They're firing missiles and rockets. I wasn't entirely sure there was a difference, but I guess there is. Pamela Stevenson, though, you gotta remember she got boned by evil Superman, right? So that's why she's had the best sex of her life.
Although Superman shows up and he's like, I don't know you, lady, and everyone's like, We didn't erase your memory. That
he was like, that was not me.
It's complete bullshit. He's like, oh shit, that's that girl I had sex with last night. I don't remember. I was evil.
I wonder whether or not
have sexual relations.
I wonder whether or not she has had the best sex of her life. I just picture him sitting there going, look, I've had a lot of kryptonite.
We'll try again in a minute.
I'm normally super, but
this has never happened before. But I've just tried. I'm on new kryptonite.
I'm evil Superman. I don't care about your pleasure. Clark would have you'd have loved it.
For some reason, I feel like when Clark Kent turns into Superman, it just goes full Ken down there.
Oh, you think?
Like smooth. Yeah.
We don't want to picture Superman's dick.
Exactly.
Yeah. Holy shit. Right. Sorry. Now all I can think about is Superman's dick. It's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Like, don't think about it. Now all I'm thinking about, hear me out, is Superman's giant veiny throbbing member.
Ghostbusters would have been a better movie.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So he fights against a supercomputer. I mean, Jesus Christ. At this point, Chris, you are I'm assuming that no one else likes this movie.
No.
Kate, you don't like this movie. You like the first half.
Yeah, I don't think.
Because of the good news stories.
Some fun stuff. What'd you say?
Because of the good news story when he was going
That was my favorite part.
Yeah, I could tell.
I think me and you actually have a complete reversal of the things we like in this film. 'Cause I hate the beginning
Like
of it.
Tenet.
I don't mind the evil Superman bit.
I think it's when, the fake kryptonite. I was like, that's when I got pissed off because it was also,
It looks like exactly the thing.
Yeah.
They've not even molded it into like
something else,
into
an
something else. It's
amulet.
just a fucking chunk of space
And
rock.
also that Richard Pryor's character, like, why would you ever go unknown? Oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. Tar. Like, it was when the choices become so unnatural for a character to just move the plot along that I get really annoyed.
To deliver for Richard Pryor to go. I mean, it feels like they're going, how do you want to deliver this scene? And he's going, well, Patton was quite good, so I'm going to dress up. And you kind of like, surely that's just revealing yourself as the bad guy to Superman. Like the whole thing is nuts. And that point you made before about it looks like kryptonite. He's seen kryptonite before. We've had kryptonite, and you just handed him and he takes it. There's no reaction.
But
There's
also,
no.
they interrupt a fucking a
parade for Superman.
celebration to hand him this. I'm like, you could have waited till it was over and then been like, here. Like there was just no need for them. All of these choices, and that's when it gives me heartburn, and I hate it.
Right. So heartburn from Kate. You don't like it either. But Thorburn, you love this film and you think it's better than Citizen Kane and John Delmont.
It's a hot mess, and I enjoyed so much of it.
You saw yourself in it.
Yes. I don't know. It's like, I think is it a good sequel to the previous two Superman movies? Absolutely not. But like this one, you're getting this one is now Richard Lester getting to make his now Superman film. And again, is it technically good? No. But I just had a lot of fun with it. It's like, because you've seen him in like his kind of when he's making like a Hard Day's Night and Help, like that kind of mode of like, okay, I'm taking these like iconic like public figures and I'm putting them in this cartoonish, farcical sketch like kind of thing. Works better in those films, but it's kind of like that. This is a big daft comedy that happens to also be a Superman film. Do they gel well together? No, but I don't know.
You think it was funny?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Oh, but Rick, I've never seen Rick look that angry since his tortoise died. That's how fucking angry he looked at you right now. That was wow, guys.
Yeah. What did you think of the film?
Dog shit. I remember Thorburn is off his fucking nut. Unbelievably fucking
You
dog
can't
shit.
touch a man this happy. He had a good time.
I mean, listen, it's beautiful to see his cheeky wee face, right? All this happy. It's adorable. I want to ruffle his hair, but I'm also slightly worried about his mental fucking capacities. I feel like you should not be allowed to operate heavy machinery or walk across the street unaided. It's fucking terrible. I loved it as a kid. Kids are fucking stupid, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a dumb kids thing, but I think it's actually quite insulting even for kids. But, I hated it. I actually thought it would be good fun, but not as good. I kind of thought I would have your opinion, Thorburn, but I was like, about 20 minutes in, because also when I mentioned it, like, I think you probably, again, from remembering it as a kid, Rick and Billy were like, Superman 3 is actually quite good, isn't it?
No, so I know that. So I know how.
That was my impersonation of you and Billy both speaking at the same time.
That's exactly right.
Hello. It's me, Rick and Billy.
I knew how bad Superman.
Are there two Ricks in the room?
I knew how bad Superman 4 was and is as a film. And as I say, my reasoning for this is that this film just gets away with it, like because Superman 4 is so bad, as we we've said. And so when I knew I didn't like this film, and I knew there were scenes in this film I didn't like. I remember, as I say, the Richard Pryor falling off a building thing, like falls so fucking far. In the first films, when anyone falls that far, they're rescued by Superman. Like there's a whole there's a whole thing in it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and yet. So you just, falls off the thing. You weren't skis. It's fine. You can fall off a building. It's fine. It just is so. So I remembered that. I remember the bits that stuck in my head. That when I first mentioned that Green Man climbing up thing, I mentioned it to you guys. You're going, I didn't remember whether I'd remembered it right, but it was like it's just something that stuck there. The guy pulling the arm, trying to get the two things in, is something that stuck in my head as a kid as well.
The two keys.
The two keys thing.
All right, so if you had to rate it out of 5, Rick?
1.
1. Kate?
There's a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah,
7.
you can use a 0. You can have a 0. Yeah.
No, the phone number for the computer place.
Oh, yeah.
That's a callback. I don't know, 3.
3
It
out of
wasn't
5.
that bad.
Holy shit.
You know,
Generous.
in terms of like, it wasn't that bad.
All right. No, this is what I'm waiting for, Chris.
I'm gonna say a gentleman's 3. Yeah, like that's.
right.
Mine's a whore's 3.
A gentleman's 3 is how I describe my penis. So wow, I gave it 1.5 on Letterboxd. I think if Richard Pryor had his time again, he would rather set himself on fire again than be in this movie.
Oh well, that actually brings me to something. Like my main takeaway from this film was, more than any other of Superman's powers, he is just blowing a lot in this film.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a bit we didn't talk about was the fire at the beginning.
The chemical fire,
chemical
which
fire.
is the only reason that there is to bring back at the end, which
The
is one of
acid.
my last notes. Yeah, which is what ultimately destroys the supercomputer that turns a woman into a computer and feeds from the grid
It's a
itself.
magic acid.
And he says the line, because it was like a computer is only there to protect itself. That's why I just went in there with a plain old can of acid. And like, so didn't think it was a dangerous thing. And I was like, I think
Acid
acid
is dangerous.
itself
Yeah.
is still dangerous.
Yeah.
But because when it got heated up, it would destroy all
would
metal
explode
around
and
it.
destroy
So that
everything.
bit in it is like you look at what the way that acid reacts, and that acid feels like I feel like Hollywood special effects have just discovered something they can make look like that, because that's like the end of Gremlins. Essentially, that's just like the, and it's. I felt like, oh, we've got this acid. What's cool? What can we do with it? Basically,
My last question is why, if Superman can make diamonds out of coal,
Yep.
why doesn't he do that for more people? Does he hate? Does he love poor? Does he,
He
hate
hates the
poor
poor.
people?
Superman hates the poor. He's a tool of the capitalist state in America.
Because
keeping
when he
them
makes
down.
that diamond, I think he's going to give it to Richard Pryor.
That's what I thought, but he gives it to Lana.
And he puts it on a ring and gives it to Lana. I was like, that's she's going to bump it all over the place. It's too big. B, just why don't you hand out some? Why don't you just hand them out to people? Yes, overall, it would lower the value of diamonds. Okay, you're going to saturate the market, but ultimately, you could do it a little bit and give good people diamends and
This
still.
is his argument against the universal basic income. You see, so this is what,
It's
this is
all
all coming together. It's all
connected.
coming together, guys. Hopefully, you've learned a lot about universal basic income today, dear listener or viewer. Apart from Rick, who doesn't want the listener to enjoy any of this. So that was Superman 3. It was a fucking dog shit movie. Thorburn, you're fucked in the head, but God bless you, man. It's a hell of a choice, hell of a hill to die on. Wow. So it's at this point where we choose our next movie, guys. The Wheel of Shame, the Finger of Death. It points to you, Rick Molland. What's going to make us feel as bad as you did when your tortoise died? What film is going to bring us down worse?
I think as bad as the tortoise felt.
Well, I felt nothing. There's nothing after death, Kate.
Battlefield
the
Earth.
Oh my god!
the
wickedly talented John Travolta.
I have never seen Battlefield Earth, but
Okay.
I have heard it's great.
I'm afraid to watch it because I'm afraid I'm susceptible and I'm gonna come away from it a Scientologist.
You watched Superman 3 and thought that was a good film. Yeah, you're signing a 1,000-year contract and going to the Sea Org.
Like, guys, have you heard the good news?
We're doing Battlefield Earth.
We're doing Battlefield Earth. Please watch, because otherwise this is in vain. This has been Watch Bad Movies with Great Comedians. We'll see you for Battlefield Earth. No!